She was brought up in the Christian faith, but her road took her far away from those spiritual roots. To share her story of hope, I'm joined by award-winning country music artist and author, Lisa Daggs.
Hi, thanks, Cheryl. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming here.
We're at 100 Huntley Street. It was years ago. I can't even remember when it was that I was here last, but it was a great experience. You have a beautiful facility, and I love what you do.
And we love the people we work with, and we're so happy to have you back.
Thank you.
And I just want to dive right into your story here, because we have a little bit to cover. And, you know, when you were 10, things were going well. You had given your life to Jesus. You were growing up in a loving family, but something threw you off track right at 10. What happened?
My parents divorced, and I never saw them fight. I heard my older brother and my dad go after it a few times. When my dad walked out and moved out of the house because of infidelity, my mom was not a Christian when they were married, so her life dramatically changed when she became a Christian and accepted Christ. But it devastated me because I was the only girl and I was the youngest, so I was the baby girl, but I never felt like I was to my dad. I don't remember sitting on his lap. I don't remember being hugged. I don't remember any of that. I remember he'd come home from work and I'd get on his leg, you know, and he'd walk me around or something, but I never saw them fight. So it was a real shocker. And I felt inside as that I have missed my chance to know my dad because he's gone now. And that wasn't the case. They came back and became great friends, and he started paying attention when I went on the road. And in fact, my dad gave his life to the Lord at one of my concerts.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
it gave him more purpose. He had two strokes and heart issues, and ended up at a VA home.
But I know, like, when that happened at 10, though, the enemy was telling you a lie about yourself, like that you weren't worthy of love.
It's like, why was I not enough for him not to leave?
Yeah.
Why was I not enough for him not to really get to know me or love me or hug me?
So that kind of set you on a path. I mean, you moved to Nashville. You were pursuing music, which you've always loved. You got it from your brother.
Yes.
And then a really interesting thing happened to you because you almost got robbed and you could have been killed. And there was a connection with your mom. So tell me that story.
This is amazing. I was not following the Lord. I was a master bartender at TGI Fridays, and after shift, many of us would go over. There was a funeral home next to Fridays, downtown Nashville, and we sat on the ledge, the planter edge, and we were smoking weed. And two guys walked up, one taller than the other, and were asking us which restaurants were still open, and we're trying to be helpful and say, oh yeah, Tony Roma's, exit in, you know, grab last call or maybe get a burrito over there or whatever. They said, we're not here for food, we're robbers, we're here to rob you. And we were just like, and so they started to say, we're gonna take a walk. And the four of us got up, and they had one gun, they had two guns, one apiece, and one was under my gal friend's neck like this, and one was in my side. And I remember I had some nice jewelry, and I was flipping the stones around, and I had things in my purse that they got, and I had just bought a Toyota Celica, my first new car. This woman had ordered, had everything, and I'm like, don't take my car. So I kind of hid the keys. And when I called my mom, I was shaking so bad. She said, what time was that? And I said, it was about 1 in the morning. And she said, 2-hour difference, at 11 o'clock p.m. I was asleep, and God woke me up with a start. And I got out of bed, didn't want to wake my husband, and I went in the other room and hit my knees and started interceding for you. And I believe that's when another car had a little too much to drink, and they ran into another parked car and startled these two, and they fled.
Wow. But they had actually killed someone. The police told you.
Just around the corner was Tony Roma's, and two couples were there, and they robbed them, and they shot one of them, and they died.
Wow. You know, the prayers of a mom. And that's a really big part of your story because, you know, after your parents divorced, you started walking away from your faith. You started getting into addiction, into a $1,000 a day cocaine habit, drinking. And you found yourself at one point facing serious jail time. What happened with that?
I had up to $1,000 a day rock cocaine habit. I drank and or used every day. I'd try to stop drinking, and then I would just smoke. I learned how to cook it up, or I'd switch. So it was the 4th time I was arrested, and I was sitting in jail and feeling a little haughty, like I'm having an all-girl band, and we're going on a DOD tour, and we're going overseas, and I'm in here with these girls that are rocking and picking their scabs from meth, and they all bailed out before I did, and I was alone in that cell. And I just said, we've made promises to the Lord before. All of us have, right? If you just do this, I'll do that. But this time I meant it. I knew what I had done. I was facing 3 to 5. And I said, if you get me out of this mess, Lord. First I said, how did I get here? How did I end up here? And he whispered, and he said, compromise. Because of your compromise, these are your consequences. And I said, if you get me out of this, I will never, ever quit telling people what you've done for me. Please. I mean it. And I made a promise, and I'm glad today, Cheryl, that I can say that is one promise I have kept. I'm 35 years clean and sober.
Oh, amazing.
And have been so blessed to be able to lead thousands and thousands of people into recovery and into the arms of Jesus to learn what forgiveness is about, and serving him and the joy and the peace and patience and kindness and goodness and mercy and all those things we get when we lay down the trash and we actually get the treasure. We're holding on, purple knuckled. You're not going to get this, but he has a feast. And peace is such a great indicator of his presence in your life.
That's amazing what you've been able to do to be clean and sober this long and really keep that promise you made in prison. But the hard times weren't over, and you actually had a season in your life where you found out your husband wasn't who you thought he was.
I don't know. I made the wrong choice, but I didn't know that until after we were married. Really, after our honeymoon night is when I knew. We stayed together for 12 and a half years, and my daughter was 8, and I discovered that he was talking to about 30 different women online, and it's not the man I knew. It was vulgar, and I found out some things from another pastor that someone came to him. Didn't share what had happened, but there was no intimacy, and it was a very lonely life of ministry, because he would usually beat me down verbally before I'd set foot on stage. So I walked it out, and I raised my daughter on my own, and still in full-time ministry. So I had her every other weekend, or 5 on, 2 off, 5 on, however they did it. They kind of mixed it up. But I would only book the 2 weekends that I didn't have her, because it's most important to let her see how I get up every morning. I got up every morning. But I'm telling you, in those sorrows, in those deepest times of wreckage of your life, and you're still clean, I got closer to the Lord, to where the phone rang and I didn't run for it. Who's calling? Who's texting? It didn't matter to me. It was the Word of God laying in my bed after I got her ready for school, and my mom stroked out on my kitchen floor at that time.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really worship music and time with the Lord.
Yeah, and I think, you've been through so much, but I did meet your husband, your new husband, who took 5.5 years to get you to notice him. Talk to me about restoration, because you've been through so much heartbreak, so much brokenness. How do you see God restoring even the painful, ugly things that you went through?
Well, Ronnie Horton, great nephew of Johnny Horton, from some of you who remember the name. He was raised in a Christian home where they exemplified what Christianity was, in truth, in love, in service, in worship, in adoration, and in holiness. And Ronnie and I just continued to become the best of friends. So we had no secrets. We told each other everything. And there came a time when I felt he was going to ask me to marry him. And I was in a quandary, kind of like, trust was broken.
Yeah.
and that takes a long time to heal. But the man that I was dating, he said, watch a man's character, and his character was flawed. And the more time I spent with Ronnie and becoming best friends, I asked myself, do I want to live forever without this man? And the answer was, no, I don't. And we don't fight. We don't raise our voices.
And how many years have you been married now?
Almost 8.
Okay, Lisa, your story, I think, is such a clear example that your today is not your forever. And I think we need to remember that sometimes, because when we're in the middle of something that is so heartbreaking, it feels like nothing will ever be good ever again. But your story is a living proof that it will. And I just want to encourage you watching this interview, if that's you and you feel like, I'm never getting out of this, it's never going to get good, God can't make something beautiful out of what was terrible, I just want you to know that's a lie. And there are others seasons ahead. And if you just need somebody to give you some of that hope and even just pray with you for that next season, we would love to do that. Please give our prayer lines a call. The number's on the bottom of your screen, 1-866-273-4444. We would love to be part of that next season of your life. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
One thing, there is life after divorce, especially when Christ is in the center of it. And you'll be amazed of what he will do. You've just got to let go.
Good word. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Cheryl.